What's going on, guys? Chris here again, bringing you another review slash rant. This week the game I picked was Alien Homonid. Now, I don't know if you know anything about this game. Before I Googled it, I didn't know anything about it. I just randomly Googled shooters because I like the old school retro games like Contra and Metal Slug and all the great shooters. And this just kept coming up on the list whenever I searched. So I didn't understand why until I actually bought it. But let me tell you, it is a phenomenal game. I liked a lot of aspects about it. There were very few that I actually didn't. So this is one that's going to be highly recommended by me. Now, as I said, it's a shooter, much like the predecessors before it. The good ones like Metal Slug, Contra. Basically you are a one-person, two-person co-op game kind of style. You run through the levels, shooting a bunch of guys, killing a bunch of guys, and you have a bunch of badass weapons. So it follows the formula to a T, and let me tell you, it does it very well. So the only things that I thought were kind of funny is, well, first of all, the main character. He's a little alien. He's pretty crudely drawn, and he shows a lot of emotion, which is kind of reminds me of myself. I guess he's a very, like I said, wears his heart on his sleeve kind of emotional character, and it's pretty easy to tell what he's thinking when whatever's going on is going on. And I mean, basically, some of the things that I thought was funny about him is at the end of the levels when he's doing his little celebration. Half the time he's like, yeah, just celebrating, fists in the air, fist bump. And then there's a few times where he's swinging his little ray gun down by his crotch, and it could be what somebody might say is his genitals swinging. So just look out for that. If you happen to see it, I mean, I can't be the only one who feels that way. Just saying. And another thing I thought was pretty interesting about this game is the plot, or rather say lack thereof. But I mean, it is a shooter, and one thing that shooters do is they don't really have a lot of plot. They just get you to the meat of the action, which is blowing stuff up, which this game does very well. So the plot is basically that you're an alien flying through the air. Your ship is either hit by something or it malfunctions, and you crash land on Earth. Then the FBI come and sweep up the remains and get you out of there. Now, there's nothing wrong with that. That's totally feasible, I guess. I mean, if you believe in aliens and UFOs and whatnot. It just jumps you right in, which is good and bad. It doesn't really provide a story, but, who really cares? It's a shooter, guys. It doesn't matter. So, a few of the things I liked. We're going to get to the stuff I like now, and there's a lot of this, so lengthy little section. First of all, the controls. I love the controls of this game. There was so many things this little guy could do. He could jump, double jump, he could fire his gun, let him go a little higher up in the air. He could fire up, he could fire down, he could fire to the left, to the right. He could just about do anything. I mean, he could jump on the guys, bite their heads off. He could jump on the guys, jump on them again, and throw them at other guys, which somehow, I don't know how throwing one man at another man, splits them in half, but he definitely does it. And he can hide in the ground, which I thought was awesome. While he's in the ground, if you stay in there too long, it kind of sucks that he'll turn blue and basically die. I guess he can't breathe in the ground. I don't know. I don't know how he got in the ground anyway. But while he's in the ground, he can also reach his hand up and kind of I would say, kind of like zombie-esque. He just reaches up from the grave and pulls people down in there with him. I don't know how that kills them, but it definitely does. The only ones you got to watch out for are the guys with the jetpacks, the flamethrowers, or the ice guns, because if you pull them down with you, they're basically going to explode in the ground, and then you die. Yeah, you die. It sucks. So another thing I thought was really awesome was the weapon selection. Now, not unlike games of past lore, this game has a vast array of weapons, which make it really interesting. Of course, there's a freeze gun, so you can walk around feeling like Sub-Zero from Mortal Kombat. You can just freeze shit, and they actually stay frozen in position, so if they're just ha! They stay that way. You can fire at them again, or you can just walk them in, and the guy doesn't even hit them. He just goes tink, and then they bust apart, which is hilarious. I mean, you got your classic little ray guns. You got, some guns that actually slice people in half. I don't know, the shots are swords or knives. That's awesome. And then another one that I thought was really interesting, probably my favorite gun because it does a crap ton of damage, but also because it's hilarious. There is a shotgun in this game A shotgun, I mean, it's not really a shotgun, but it fires like a spread like a shotgun. So I'm just going to call it a shotgun for safety's sake. So it's like a shotgun, but it fires out a big, like, spread of green goo. And the best part about it is when you fire it, it actually sounds like a giant fart. So you get the fart on screen, and then you get the shart from the gun. So it's a shart gun instead of a shotgun. That might be something we could coin right there. But I'll let you decide what you think it is. Another thing I loved about this game, and it's another characteristic that all great shooters have, the awesome boss fights. While there were some that were very frustrating, and I mean frustrating. I mean, you want to rip your damn hair out. They're so hard to figure out what's going on. While there were some that were really challenging, and I may have lost a couple hairs because I may have actually... But a few that I thought were worth mentioning was the first boss. There's nothing wrong with him. He's easy once you figure out what's going on with him. You just blast him in the eye. And then later on in that series of levels, you come to a boss that is a flying boss or something. He's some kind of like machine, and he flies back and forth, and he is just a giant fucking headache to kill. Another boss on like the Area 51 levels is... It seems like it's not even a boss, guys. You walk in on it and you know what it is, you'd never guess. Have you guessed yet? Well, unless you guess two giant blade plugins, not the plugins, but the actual plugs themselves. Unless you guess two giant plugs, yeah, you were wrong. Yeah, you're fighting plugs. Giant ass plugs. Oh, what do you think they do? They shock the piss out of you. I literally died on this boss probably 50 times trying to figure out what to do. So I'm not even going to tell you. Just good luck, and you know, if you die a lot, well, I'm with you there. So another boss that I thought was pretty interesting. Yeah, I didn't actually give the breakdown of the levels, but it's kind of cool because you play against the FBI as your first series of stages that you're fighting through the FBI people. Then you move on to the KGB, which is pretty hilarious, and they all have machine guns and crazy crap. And then lastly, you're back in America, I guess, and you're fighting against the Area 51. So I guess this would be the Army at this point. I mean, FBI, Army, they're kind of, I don't know. It seemed to me like World 1 and World 3 were pretty similar, but I mean, except for the bosses. The bosses were a great deal more challenging, and there was a lot more stuff that was a pain in the ass. Like, in the later stages, there are like countless enemies that come on screen, and that gives you like, it's bad because there's a flood of enemies all the time. You know, it's a shooter, so there's a lot of stuff on the screen. A lot of random crap on the screen at all times. But the thing is, that made it good as well, that since there was guys coming in at all times, you know, if you lost a shield or you lost a weapon, you know, you could always get more because they were constantly dropping new weapons and new shields. And that's one of the main ways you stay alive in this game, is you not only start with a crappy gun, because every shooter you start with a crappy gun, but when you find a new weapon, you get a shield with it, which is a big deal because, you know, if you've ever played shooters, then you know you're going to get shot at some point. It's not can you avoid everything, because you're not going to, but, you know, you get hit and you still keep on going, which is nice. Now, if you happen to get hit, of course, as with most other games that are shooters, you lose the gun you had, which sucks a ball if you got a really good gun. So like I said, shield up and then you're good to go. Let's see. So another thing I thought was very interesting was the fact that, you know, this game is, you don't have to be a great game player. Like, it's not like Contra 3 where you have to play all the way through and you get to the final brain boss, and if you die, you just got to do it all over again. No, no, no. If Contra 3 was like this game, I would have beat Contra 3 ages ago, even on hard. I don't care how hard the brain is. I would have beat him. I've gotten really close. Haven't done it yet. But this game, it organizes the levels in stages. I mean, all games do that, I guess. But once you beat a stage, you do not have to repeat it. If you want to, you can just go to the level select and click the next level and start where you left off, which is an amazing feature. I'm very glad that's there because, you know, like I said, on that plug, I died so many times. I would have never gotten to see the final boss. I would have never beaten the final boss if I didn't have all my lives when I started. which is nice because you get to start each like level, I guess. If you die, you get to start the level that you were just on with all your continues, all your lives. It's, you know, and if you're feeling really terrible, you can actually click start on player 2 and jump in as the second player, whose controls are exactly the same. He's just wearing a little red ball cap. But you can jump in as the second player, and then you get 4 more continues. So it's basically you have 8 continues and like, I don't know, 5 lives per continue. That's, you know, there's no reason you can't beat it in one try, but it is challenging. So, you know, that feature is there, which is really nice. I had to use it a time or two myself, so no shame. Now, this is going to be a spoiler alert, so if you're watching at this point and you don't want to hear about the end of the game, you might want to fast forward a couple minutes or so. When you get to the very last levels of Area 51, like, I'm always interested to see how games wrap themselves up and how games end, or what kind of final boss you have to be. Like, he's got to be the biggest badass of them all because you got to kill him last, right? I mean, it only makes sense, but it always just interests me to see what they have and what it's going to do. So when you get to the final boss, who is a headache to say the least, you would never guess what it is. I'm not even going to give you a chance to guess because you're not going to guess. It's basically your buff-ass big brother. Yeah, that's right. They took an alien. I guess they'd captured him and put him in Area 51, and they buffed him up on steroids or something, gave him a huge-ass gun, way better than your gun, and then you got to beat his ass. Yeah, which, by the way, is pretty damn challenging. Then you have to, like, there's 3 stages to the boss fight. You got to fight him on the ground, you got to fight him when he's in his ship, and then you got to fight him while he's walking around on top of his ship. It's like this guy just never dies. But anyway, once you finally do kill him, then it, you know, rolls the credits, you get in your little ship and you're going away. And the way this game sums up its plot is probably just about as much effort as they put into making a plot. Basically, there's a little kid throughout the game, and they just call him Fat Boy or Fat Kid, which I think is hilarious. Anyway, so there's a little fat kid throughout the game, and he basically just, he's there, and if you walk up on him, he'll, you know, give you a random weapon. And, I mean, you know, it's definitely very helpful. So whenever you see him, you know, stop and wait a minute, and he'll give you some stuff. So at the end of the game, before the credits roll, one of the things is you're going off, you're flying away in your little ship, and then the tractor beam, the, you know, little laser beam, reaches down, pulls the fat kid out of the car, and just takes him away with the alien. So basically, I guess, I don't really understand why. Maybe he helped him enough to where he just decided he was going to bring him along for the action. I do not know. But it made for a pretty funny ending. It made me laugh a time or two. You know, it was interesting to say the least. Alright, so now here's a few things that I did not like about the game. I spoke forever about the things I do like, because there was a lot this time, guys. It was a really good game, I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to downsell it in any means. Like, I only paid probably, what, $6 for it, but, I mean, $6, $7, you know, for, you know, an adventure where you get to be an alien and kill all kinds of people, it's definitely worth $6. So, a couple of things that I didn't like is just a few things that I have problems with, and this is a lot of shooters have these issues too. So, first of all, player 1 and player 2 look too much the same. I get it, you know, they're both aliens, and then there's not a whole lot to do with aliens that could make them look different. But, you know, they could have done more than just put a hat on the guy, man. Like, it makes it so hard to know who is doing what, what's going on with what, and where's this guy when you're over here. It just, you know, there's enough stuff on the screen enough without there being confusion about who's player 1 and who's player 2. And I found myself, when I was doing co-op through this game, that to be the issue a lot of times. So that is definitely a problem I saw. Now, another thing I saw that I didn't like is some of the enemies are pretty damn cheap. And when I say cheap, I mean like, you'll be running forward, and before they're even on the screen, there's already a bullet coming at you. Like, they're not even on screen yet, and they've already shot at you. They don't even know you are there, and they are already shooting at you. How? Do they have ESP? I didn't see, there's no levels where you're fighting psychics, so I don't believe it. I don't buy it, guys. I don't buy it at all. Now, you know, maybe if all of these guys had sniper scopes on their guns, and I still don't even know how they would see you coming. I mean, the way the game is presented to you, there should be no reason that that's going on. But it seems to be a common occurrence, especially in the later levels. Guys will be shooting before they're even on screen. So you find yourself having to jump prior to when they get on screen. So you just find yourself constantly jumping through the levels. I mean, that was something at least I found myself doing. You might not have the same issue, but maybe the game just didn't like me. I have no idea. And lastly, I got to talk about it because you're going to find out about it and you're going to be pissed. So I'm just going to save you the heartache. Now, of course they put difficult levels in games. That's no secret. They always do it. They've always done it. It's something that's going to keep on going probably till the end of time, guys. So if you're terrible, you better just get over it. You better just get better. All I got to say is get on the sticks and just train up. That's all I got to say. I wasn't the best, but now I'm still not the best, but, well, yeah, whatever. But, in this level, I mean, in this game, they didn't have a swimming level, didn't have like an ocean level, which is amazing because most games do that, and I hate that shit. Everybody hates a swimming level. Like I said, it makes it 20 times harder for no reason. No, they went about it a different way. They said, well, we're going to make a hard level, and in this one, it's basically a driving level. Now, it sucks because, you know, you have to constantly be moving the cars back and forth. And you got guys dropping bombs on you. You got guys shooting at you left and right. You can get in, get out of the car. But the cars explode if you stay in them for too long. So it's like 18,000 headaches all at once. I couldn't compare. It was terrible, guys. I'd rather get a tooth pulled than play that level again. And then if that only made matters worse, you get to the boss. And the boss is a giant cock. He's not really a giant cock, but he is, like, he sucks a giant cock. Because he's so cheap, like, he fires at you while you're jumping between cars, jumping to the next car to get to the next car so you're safe. He's still firing at you, and then all of a sudden he'll come lunging out at you, and if you're not inside a car at that point, guess what? You're getting killed every single time. On the plus side, they give you, there's like a little hang glider that comes in every time you die, and he gives you a brand new weapon, which is nice because the boss is very challenging. And, you know, especially for where the boss comes into the game at. Yeah, oh, yeah, he's in level 2. Yeah, oh, yeah. There's only 15 levels, guys. Why'd you have to put one of the hardest bosses in level 2? I don't understand it. I do not get it. However, I was really happy when I got past it because the next 5 or 6 levels were a breeze compared to that thing. So if you can get past the driving levels, guys, you should have no problems with this game. Anyways, like I said, all in all, it's a great game. 2 thumbs way up. And definitely one you should purchase, definitely one you should pick up. I added it to my collection, like I said, for about $6 or $7, and like I said, it's pretty cheap. So if you like shooters, if you're a fan of shooters, pick up this game. As always, if you have any games you want me to review or would like me to take a look at, post below in the comment section. You know, like, subscribe to my videos, and then I have more for you next week. All right, guys. Well, till next time, keep gaming and keep exploring.